today for our meeting, the first meeting of May, and we'll start by saluting the flag. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask our CAO if there's any, whoops. Do you have any modifications to the agenda?
Thank you, Chair Bass. There are no modifications to the agenda today.
All right, thank you. May we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
All right, so before we go into public comment on this item or read resolutions, I'd like to let folks at home know if you... I believe we had a second. You guys were talking, so yes, we're good. All right, so for those of you at home, as I was saying, if you are listening and you wish to make comment on an agenda item, now would be the time to have called in. When you call in, turn the volume off on your screen, because whatever you are watching on the screen is time delayed and runs behind what you hear on the phone. And what you hear on the phone is live time, and sometimes people forget and they lose their opportunity to speak because they forget to turn their volume off and actually hear the meeting at the time it's happening, and they respond too late. So those of you who may want to comment on an item on the consent calendar, as I've said, now's the time to press star 9. And with that, I know there are several proclamations that some supervisors would like to read into the record before we go into public comment. And Supervisor Bohn.
Grandkids were here again. Yeah, first I just want to comment on item number 11 from the CAO's office, the agreement with the RKAEDC for almost $5 million for all towards child care, youth benefits, benefiting Changing Tides, First 5, DHHS. This can be a great program, not a lot to administer it, so I wanted to thank DHHS for their work on this. This is $5 million of Arpa funds going towards kids. So thanks whoever worked on that. Nice job.
Any other supervisor? Yes, sir, Supervisor Bohn.
And then I would like to read into the record resolution of the Board of Supervisors for the retirement or slowing down of Catherine Zemer. And I've got to work with Catherine on a few of these things, so this is fun. Whereas Catherine Zemer has served exemplarily and with passion as the Executive Director of the Humboldt County Farm Bureau for the past 32 years. And whereas Catherine has spent the majority of her career advocating for Humboldt County agricultural interests, including regulatory matters, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, SGMA, land use planning, and many other concerns of hers and our community. Whereas in 2000, Catherine took on the role of Executive Director of the Redwood Region Logging Conference, has guided that organization for 22 years, retiring in May 2022 from the logging conference at the culmination of this year's logging conference. Whereas Catherine's special passion always been youth outreach and education, with the Farm Bureau developing a significant ongoing scholarship program and working closely with the educators in our communities, established career, educational, and financial opportunities for our agricultural and vocational students. Whereas Catherine helped develop 2 programs for youth vocational outreach: Boots on the Ground, which focuses on those interested in working in the woods, and the national award-winning Redwood Region Resources Rally, a one-day immersive vocational experience for students that attend from throughout Northern California area to develop an understanding of vocational opportunities in the timber industry. Whereas in 2021, Catherine took on an added responsibility of stepping in to manage the Humboldt County Fair for 1 year, presenting a successful event despite the pandemic. That was monumental. Whereas Catherine has served alongside other county Farm Bureau executive directors throughout all the counties in California, and among her peers within all of California Farm Bureau, she is considered among the best for her resourcefulness, passion, leadership, ability to gather others in communal progress. And whereas Catherine exemplifies a Farm Bureau guiding principle which states, to work for the improvement of conditions surrounding rural life and for the cultivation of such sentiments and ideals as may promote the highest type of neighborliness and citizenship. Now therefore be resolved that the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors and the citizens of Humboldt County hereby commend and thank Catherine Zemer for her dedication and services to Humboldt County and wish her a long, prosperous, active retirement. Thank you, Catherine. And then we're not doing anything until at the end, then you guys can come up and speak, okay?
Yeah, and then we can give you a big round of applause when you come up, because it's going to happen. You just
It's
know
going to be
that.
a groundswell.
All right, so I have a couple proclamations. One I'm not going to read. Is anyone here that is from the letter carriers? Okay, I do know we don't. So instead of reading the entire proclamation into the record, every year the second Saturday in May, the letter carriers across the nation have what are they called? A non-perishable food pickup at your home. So a reminder they used to bring bags for us to take home and fill and leave a bag of food by your mailbox. And locally in Humboldt County, they collected over 48,000 pounds of food just in 2019 alone. I don't know if anything was collected in 20 and 21 with the COVID. So this is an exciting year, and we definitely need lots of resources at our food pantry. So I'm sure that Ann will get up shortly and talk a little bit about how important this is to our local food pantry. And then we also have, and I did want to say, Ann, I was cleaning out my office. One day a month now I go through and put things away since I figure I got 12 months down to 8 to clean my office. And I found this card from you at the kickoff of the Letter Carriers Day in 2013 when we were all there. And so I thought it was great to find it yesterday. So, and for those of you who may wonder why we have a banner in front that says, each mind matters, and I am still wearing a green ribbon. It signifies May is Mental Health Month, and so I do have a proclamation regarding that. Whereas mental health challenges are one of the most common health conditions in California, affecting 1 out of 6 adults and impacting both the person experiencing mental health challenges and those who care and love the person facing the challenges. And whereas 1 out of every 24 Californians with a serious mental illness have difficulty functioning in everyday life, and if left untreated, have life expectancies 25 years shorter than the general population. And whereas every day millions of people face stigma related to mental health and may feel isolated and alone, going years before receiving any help. Whereas recovery can and does happen, and all Californians should know that support and help is available regardless of any individual situation. And whereas creating a community where everyone feels comfortable reaching out for the support they deserve is crucial to ending stigma around mental health. And whereas Humboldt County Department of Health and Human Services calls upon citizens, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, reducing stigma and discrimination, and promoting appropriate and accessible service for all people at all stages. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Humboldt hereby proclaims May 2022 as Mental Health Matters Month to highlight the needs of those with mental illness and to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness, as well as to recognize the private and public organizations and individuals who work tirelessly with DHHS to support community members with mental health in their recovery. So, thank you again for reminding us, and I'm sure we'll hear about that as well. Any other comments on items before we go to public comment? Supervisor Madrone?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of items, but first of all, I want to thank Catherine for all her hard work at the Farm Bureau. It's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and you're going to be hard to replace for sure. But I'm sure who is stepping up will do a great job. You've got a great organization. I've enjoyed coming and speaking with your folks, and want to wish you all the best with your retirement. So I've got two things. One is a resolution declaring Bigfoot Days out in Willow Creek, a very fun event for those who have not been able to get out there. You'd be amazed at how many people have Bigfoot costumes, as well as the real thing shows up too. So you heard that here. Just be aware, bring your cameras. So Willow Creek is having a parade to celebrate the event. and that'll be on Highway 299 on July the 9th. So want to encourage the community, if you want to come out for a fun day in Willow Creek, come out and join Bigfoot and celebrate all things Trinity Valley out there. So the other thing I wanted to do was to present the certificates of recognition. Is anybody here from Seroptimus International of Arcata? Wasn't sure. So I'll be presenting these later this month, but a bunch of really wonderful awards for incredible people. These are all certificates of recognition. The first one is to Ireland Summer, second place for the Cynthia Schwensen Scholarship Award. And the next one is also the same award, Cynthia Schwensen Scholarship Award, and this is for Tara Sandell, also for second place. And then the next one, we've got several of them here, is same scholarship award, another second place, and this is to Bronwyn Lovett. So congratulations to all of those folks. And then we have first place going to Catherine Elizabeth Tinney. Congratulations, Catherine, on your award. And then the last couple ones here, we have a certificate of recognition for Grace Talty. This is the Violet Richardson Award. So congratulations to Grace. And just, I think, one or two more. And we've got Cypress LeBlanc. Congratulations on receiving Live Your Dream Award. And I believe that is the completion of those. Yes, so congratulations to all the award winners, and we'll see you later this month. Thank you, Seroptimus International.
All right, thank you. Any other board members before we go to the public? All right, at this time we will go to public comment. Currently, there are no hands up online, so we'll go to those in public in the here with us in person first. And if you wish to speak on this, on any of these items, you can just go stand at the side of the room and come up right after the next person. Yes, welcome, sir.
Hi. Good morning, Chair Bass, members of the board. Sean Quincy in the County Administrative Office. I'm speaking on item 11, the Arpa Child Care Grant Program. And I am speaking because I want to recognize the foresight of your board in this item. This item is steeped in research upon research. Back in August of last year, your board adopted a spending plan for this funding. And that spending plan, the economic impact grant portion of that spending plan, was based on research that your Economic Development Division did with the local business community. They identified 3 priority areas to ensure that the business community can continue to thrive, and that was childcare, housing, and broadband. We're still working on the other 2 portions of that program. The childcare portion of this program is also steeped in research. There are many community members and stakeholders in the childcare industry that were a part of this program, and they've identified through this program the factors that would be needed to help stabilize childcare. And so this is one of the items that I have been most honored to work on in my career here at the county, and I think your board should be applauded for the work that you are doing here and adopting this program. So thank you very much for your wisdom, and thank you for this program.
All right, thank you. And for a reminder, folks, since I didn't mention it, you may come on up, Marianne. There is a timer. I can't see it, but it's right behind me, and it is a pretty strict, well, it is a strict 3-minute timer, so just keep your eye on that as a reminder. Yes.
Good morning, board. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this morning. First, I want to say how fitting it is that we're recognizing May as Mental Health Month at the same time that your board is considering this this childcare action, because childcare providers are a critical link in our early childhood mental health system. But first, I want to say, by taking this action today, your board is recognizing that children and families are core to Humboldt's health, and number one, that is tremendous, and you deserve to be applauded for that, as Sean said. Second, you're listening and responding strongly to the priorities of Humboldt's business community, also really critical to Humboldt's economic health and the health of our county. You're recognizing the vital importance of childcare as an infrastructure that's necessary to our economic health. This plan will address the needs of families and childcare across the county, including building up the many informal childcare arrangements throughout the county, especially in our more rural and outlying areas. And finally, I want to say every city and every county in California received Arpa funds. But Humboldt County, through the vision and the partnership of AEDC, the Child Care Task Force, the CAO's office, the leadership of Changing Tides with its convening of the task force, and your board, is making a bold move that I think the rest of California should look to, because you're prioritizing families, you're prioritizing business, and you're understanding how those two are linked. And so I just want to congratulate you and thank you for taking this profound action to support families, not only with this ARPA funding, but to look forward and make a plan in the future to make sure Humboldt's families are cared for. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Welcome, Emmy.
Good morning. I would be remiss in not acknowledging what Mary Ann just talked about, especially related to mental health, as I agree that our true investment and the future health of our community is in our young children. Let me start again. I'm Emmy Botzler Rogers, Behavioral Health Director. Good morning, Supervisors. I just wanted to start by thanking you for the proclamation, D5, this morning, and for recognizing mental health through the May is Mental Health Matters Month proclamation. It's so important for our community to recognize mental health as a critical component of each of us as whole human beings. Just like physical health, mental health is a natural part of who we are. And just like we all have physical illness at times, we all absolutely have mental illness at times. That's just normal. That's a part of who we are as human beings. I wanted to remind your board and our community today that about the importance of us recognizing and normalizing mental illness to end stigma and discrimination, and to increase acceptance and support for those who are struggling with mental illness. That is key to creating a healthy community that allows healing and wellness for all people. I also just wanted to take a quick minute to recognize Kelly Jack. She's not here today, but she will be retiring this year. She has worked tirelessly on mental health issues in our community. She's been working for the county since 2008, and specifically as a peer partner since 2015. The role of peers in behavioral health is critical to lift up experiences of those we serve with mental illness. Kelly Jack has been amazing in how she does this work. She has advocated, organized, and led critical recovery work to support and bring light to the issues of mental illness and those who are suffering. One example is that she has helped organize the mental health walk that is happening today at 11:30. She helped bring that from about 30 attendees to close to 100 at its peak. So she will be retiring in July. We'll bring a resolution back closer to that date, but I felt like I needed to just acknowledge her on this last Mental Health Proclamation Day that she'll be employed with us for. She's so instrumental in mental health matters initiatives. So again, thank you for recognizing mental illness and the need to end stigma and discrimination, and so that all people can get the support and treatment that they need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. Welcome, Ann.
Good morning. I'm Ann Holcomb, the Executive Director of Food for People, and thank you, Supervisor Bass, for reading in the proclamation, and fellow supervisors for your ongoing support. The good news is that after a 2-year hiatus, we are back. We're really grateful to the letter carriers. I was hoping that John from our local Eureka branch would be able to be here this morning, but sometimes it's tricky to get that time off. We certainly owe them a big debt of gratitude. They've been doing this for many years. It's a nationwide effort, In Humboldt County, they've been doing it since 1995, and we've collected over 1 million pounds of food during that period of time. And as Supervisor Bass said, the last time we did this in 2019, it was over 48,000 pounds of food. And this comes at a really critical time for the families in our community who've been hit hard throughout the pandemic, and now with rising cost of food and fuel and utilities and housing and everything else, we're seeing certainly an increased need. We try to make this as easy as possible. We've been printing these bags for the last number of years, and they will hopefully appear by your mailbox, and you just fill them up and put them next to your mail receptacle, and your letter carrier will pick them up. And not to worry, if you miss it on this Saturday, you can still leave it out for the following week, and they will pick it up and make sure it gets to us. Some of the post offices also have some barrels in there, so.
No worries. I was just say, Supervisor Bohn, when you're done, had a question for you.
Okay. And I did bring some bags for you. One thing we wanted to note is that we had already had the bags printed for 2020 before it was canceled. So we decided we were going to reuse those. So the date says May 9th, 2020 on it, but we're still using them, and they'll work just as well. So we really appreciate this opportunity to partner with the community, and it's a wonderful way to get engaged and see that you can make a difference. All the food collected will stay in the community in which it was donated to help our food pantries, and a lot of them right now are running out of the food that they collected over the holidays, so this is a really good time to replenish their shelves for the summer months. So again, I want to thank everybody for their support, and make sure you put your bags out there. I have bags for each of you.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to, I do this every year. This isn't a place where you get rid of the stuff you're never going to use.
Exactly.
You're giving this to other families that are going to enjoy it. So if you to think about it, it's not outdated stuff. It's anything else. It's things that you want to have on your pantry, basically. So please keep that in mind when you donate. The other thing, I would love to have you back in a few months and give us an update on the building, because you're going to be so much more efficient. I look at that footprint, and I go by and look at the foundation every few days, and it's getting pretty impressive.
It's really exciting. They're actually going to pour the foundation on Thursday.
It's looking good. I
Yeah.
saw all the plumbing
I can't
going
wait.
in all week, so.
Thank you so much.
All right,
I'll leave these here for you.
thank you. Welcome, Mayor Seaman.
Hello, today I am here as Susan Seaman from Arcade Economic Development Corporation on the child care program that you guys just approved. We will be the administrator for those funds, and I wanted to first thank you a lot. Tell you a little bit about AEDC, and then tell you why I'm so very, very happy that you did this. So Arcade Economic Development Corporation is a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution. And our purpose is to address prosperity in a community, usually underserved communities, by bringing in community investment and then investing in those things that support prosperity for everyone. Currently, we have our own portfolio of about $5.5 million, but we oversee about $30 million. Part of that money is Headwaters Fund, so you can rest assured that your money is going to be in good hands, and we will take good care of it. But specifically, this issue, as many of you know, is one that is personal interest to me. And just last week, I met a man who used to work at one of our local mills. He has one child and another on the way. During the shutdown in COVID, he stopped working, took care of his kid, and just stayed home. He has a second child on the way. He said it's cheaper to just not go back to work. And right now, I'm sure you're hearing, like we are in economic development, that the biggest issue we have with employers is finding our local workforce. So access to childcare is such an important part of that puzzle. And obviously, COVID exacerbated it. And these problems with childcare, just yesterday was a day without childcare to focus on, you know, just the systemic problems in it. But the fact that we're looking at doing this locally and changing what we can is just really exciting. When the county came to us and asked if AEDC would administer these ARPA funds, knowing what your priorities were, we asked, what difference could be made if we really focused a significant amount of investment on stabilizing and revitalizing our child care industries. And the reason is because the funds will be distributed through the entire region, from the most rural communities to the city center in Eureka. Child care is impacting every one of your communities. And it is also affecting every industry. The child care industry itself is a collection of businesses that is disproportionately owned by women and families of color. So you'll be focusing on an industry that supports a broad range of business owners. And then that industry supports every other industry in our community. So the gentleman I talked to worked for a mill. His wife works in a hospital. That went fast. It's faster over here. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome for doing this.
You're welcome. Well, and your beeper didn't go off either. So I apologize for that. Welcome.
Sorry, just a little bit taller than Mayor Seaman. Good morning. Thank you so much, Board of Supervisors. I'm Carrie Venegas, the Executive Director of Changing Tides Family Services, and I want to add my voice to the big thank you for supporting childcare as an industry and as an important thing for our families in Humboldt County. We are already leading the way. I am incredibly proud of Humboldt. I sit on many state-level committees that take action at the legislative state level and the national level, and I'll tell you what, our proposal is something that other counties are paying attention to because they haven't yet taken this important step, and they want to know how and why our county is leading the way and copy and replicate it. I also just want to say this important work goes to every part of our county. We have recently been in Bridgeville, Redway, Ukiah. We have been, sorry, not Ukiah. Pardon me. I'm just a little bit nervous this morning. Fair enough. I meant to say Oric. No disrespect to Ukiah, it's a lovely place. But we were in Oric recently, Hoopa, and Willow Creek. So this is work that transcends the coastal area. We know that the cultures of our communities in each part of the county is fundamental to how our small businesses run. And we want to meet each of those areas in the way that's most appropriate for what they need, how they live, and what's important to them, including our tribal partners. I also want to say that this is a great investment. As a matter of fact, we know from just subsidized voucher care that it's a return on investment of 2 for 1. So for every dollar that goes into child care in our county, at least $2 is generated in our economy. That's a better rate than you get in your savings these days, and probably your stocks and bonds at the moment. So again, thank you very much. We look forward to coming back with all of the data to show what this return on investment is and to show the impact, because these are small businesses. So it's good for Humboldt, it's good for our economic development, it's good for our businesses, and it's really great for our families. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Welcome. And for those of you in the audience who may be wanting to speak or may have to speak, might want to stand by the side of the room. Welcome.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, county staff, and those in attendance. My name is Tammy Engman. I'm the chapter president of College of the Redwoods 509 with the California School Employees Association. I'm here today in my role as regional representative, which represents 14 chapters from Del Norte down to Southern Humboldt. And I wanted to thank you very much for our proclamation of Classified School Employees Week coming up next week. As our theme for CSEW this week states, we are classified and we bring it every day. And we're so grateful. I'm grateful to be here today to accept this. And we know that many of the classified employees, from custodians and maintenance, food service workers, paraprofessionals, those that are doing enrollment and attendance or advising in our colleges, are often on the front line with our students, no matter what age they are. Every single day, they're the first person the kids are seeing when they're going into the yard or when they're out at recess. And so we just wanted to say thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Ken Sawatsky, how come you didn't call me sir? Anyway,
I'm not finished.
Sean Quincy,
but
you called sir, so I thought, anyway. Ken Sawatsky, thank you for my opportunity to speak today. wonderful that you got this money. I applaud, greatly you guys getting that money. It was obviously something that's needed. One thing that wasn't brought up, you have food bags for the food. Well, I like the animals thing. Virginia got $100 to put somewhere for the animals so the dogs and cats get their food also. I'm throwing down a little bit for that cause. At the same time, they need food also. And I know some of these different organizations put that out for the animals at the same time that they take that out. So maybe that will link up. The one question, I did have a question on the money you got. I think Supervisor Bohn, said that it cost very little to administer this particular money that you're getting, the $5 to $6 million. And the public kind of always likes to know how much it takes to administer the money. And maybe the county would even, out of the goodness of its heart, because of the great causes we have, First Five and everybody else here, decide to go ahead and donate the administration back to these causes. A lot of times this is 10% or 20% to administer these large grants. And of course that comes up to $500,000, $1 million, and maybe less, it's only 5%, but every little bit's going to help First Five and these people, so it'd be kind of nice to kind of do a freebie for this particular group of people, if you have the leeway to do for administration of that. I did want to speak also on, there's another one on here regarding the Surface Transportation Board. I seem to have lost it. Anyway, I can't name the one it was. But anyway, it sounds like there's some federal surface transportation board and state matching money coming in. And I didn't have time to go through that. I didn't know whether that was basically to restore the railroad around the bay or what that's about. So Surface Transportation Board's a big player in what we have here. And I know there'll be funds coming down the pipe for all kinds of wonderful projects. And it's always good to get those monies from the government, especially. We like to get a little bit back. We put so much in. We seem to get way less than our share back. What do we get in property taxes? 11 or 13%. I think the schools get 42 or 62. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Is it my turn?
Whenever, yeah, as long as we know you're shy.
Okay, yes, correct. I'm Catherine Zemer, formerly with the Humboldt County Farm Bureau. 32 years is a long time, unless you're having fun. And I had fun in my career. And I can't believe I'm doing this. But there's a couple of things I wanted to explain. The Farm Bureau is an organization of small farms, ranches, organic, conventional, and their main concern is land use, protecting the land so we have open spaces for agriculture. And I want to thank the Board of Supervisors, you five, and the ones before you, because every time when I came here with an issue that was something that would protect family farms, protect future agriculture, protect the environment, I was always pleased to know that you were on our side. You have been so supportive. And they talk about in the state, I go to a lot of meetings. Other supervisors and boards are not as supportive as you are. They're more concerned with development or new things, and you are supporting the small family farmers. You're supporting everything that we stand for. So on my way out, I just want to say thank you to all of you. I appreciate it. Rex has a question. Are we surprised?
Well, I've known you longer than the 32 years, so I would be honored if you'd introduce who has to fill your big shoes.
I would love to.
Because I think she's going to do a great job, and I'm excited for that. It's not going to be easy, but I know you're a phone call away.
It'll be a smooth transition.
But I think it's only right that you introduce her.
I would love to introduce Jeannie Fulton. Jeannie, wave. She is also an agricultural producer. She has a lot of skills. She will be working in my behalf, not my behalf, on the behalf of the Farm Bureau, but I will also be helping in any way I can. And I'm proud to know that it's in good hands as I retire. You will not see any difference. It'll just move forward in a real strong manner. And I want to thank my board of directors. That's, I talk to young people that look at me and go, wow, you've worked there 32 years. How can you do that? Because people don't stay at a job that long. Every 2 years, I had a new president, and it was fun. We got to do a lot of things, and then we moved on, and everybody had a different goal in their mind of what we should be doing. So working at a job 32 years when it's fun makes all the difference in the world. So thank you.
And I want to thank Glenn for all he did on this. I want to thank Joe Alexander. There was a lot of people that had a hand in this because you've meant so much to everybody. And I mean, I know 10 years ago when I was a new supervisor and we were doing the general plan, we wanted to look out for agriculture. We wanted to work, we wanted to make sure ag was represented. And you guys had so many meetings trying to teach an old dumb supervisor what to do, and I'm
Well, it's
still
pretty
at that point.
funny
but-
because when my children were in high school, they came home from work on a Thursday night and they couldn't figure out where I was. And then they turned on the TV and I was at the Planning Commission. And that's how they knew where I was. It was like, oh, okay. So I've spent a lot of times here, whether it be the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, and all of it, I felt like I was supported with any issue. You listened and you made changes so that it would benefit the small family farms. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. See no one else in person who wants to comment. I see one person on the phone. And Nikki, we have the vote thing up, so now I cannot get to whoever the speaker is to see the number. So,
I apologize for that. It's speaker number 4884.
okay, if you're 48884, press star 6 to unmute. Are you there? What was that number again? 4884?
Correct.
Good. If that is you, press star 6 to unmute.
Doesn't appear they're unmuting, so maybe they're for another item.
All right. Well, we'll go back to the board. So we've had a motion and a second. Lots of great comments. And Supervisor Wilson?
Thanks. Just a couple things. I did like the mention of, the work that's being done. And it's nice to stoke our egos with the thank you about the child care stuff. But really, I mean, it's a whole ecosystem of folks working on this and just everybody doing that. And I did like the nexus of the mental health month with relationship to this child care, but also, where it starts there. But I have to say, child care is very instrumental to the mental health of parents as well. I want to point that out because that is, and as someone who has for many years, when my kids were in the age where we were, child care, in need of child care, and working, both parents working and running a business, I can tell you the stress and strain of finding childcare and the cost of childcare and the consistency of that and all those things. From my perspective, it really gets into the zone of critical infrastructure at this point. I mean, it is really impacting our ability to function in ways that, in the same ways that, reliable water and reliable energy and those other things that sort of, that really are, functional to helping us move forward. So I just want to appreciate everyone's work on that. And I do like it is an investment. There's no doubt about it. It has a great return. So, and thanks to the letter carriers and their vintage bags. I appreciate that.
Anyone else have a comment? All right. I think we have already voted. Is that right? I just want you for it to show up on there. Oh, it's not up there where I can see. Okay. All right. So, what a surprise. It passed 5-0. So with that, we'll move on to, we had 2 time set items, or one, and they come to us from County Council. So at this time, I'll go to Deputy County Council Natalie Duke. If you could brief us on what we are going into closed session for.
Thank you, Chair Bass. I'm going to read all of the closed session items because I understand we might, if we
If
can,
there's time,
take
we
them.
could. Okay,
Yes.
so we want to. These are going to. This will be. This is the time that after this we can comment on all the consent, all the closed, session items. So okay, yes, please.
Thank
if
you.
you wouldn't mind.
So the first is a conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9, Subdivision D, to discuss existing litigation in the case of people of the state of California versus Karen Paz Dominguez et al., Humboldt County Superior Court Case Number CV 2200584. The second is conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D4, for one potential case. The third is conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D2 and E3, regarding exposure to litigation in two potential cases, claims for property tax refund from Pacific Bell and AT&T Mobility LLC. And then there's conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D1. In two cases, that's for Sean L. Perot v. County of Humboldt, Superior Court case number CV 2200313, and then also in the case of Teresa Miranda et al. Versus April Showers et al. That's case number CV 2200137. And that's it.
All right, thank you. And welcome.
First, I have a point of order. You've lumped two different things together here. You've lumped both K and M together. Do I get 3 minutes to comment on each of those, or 3 minutes for total time, since you guys went ahead and lumped those together? Just point of order.
Well, I believe they're all closed session items, but I'll go to our...
I would say 6 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. At one? Okay. Welcome.
Kent Swatsky, I will comment on item 1 first under County Council. And I just wanted to point out, I think we've come to an understanding here from now on, when you have a thing that's going into closed session, the words closed session should be somewhere in that particular thing. So the public came to me and they said, why are they having these two cases in open session? It doesn't say closed session there. You had something regarding speaking conference with legal counsel. Conference with legal counsel can take place in an open forum. That's not impossible. It has happened sometimes, very rare. On your first case here, the one with Karen Paz Dominguez, of course, that's being brought by, I think, the State Attorney General, people of the state of California. And I didn't know, are you discussing, if I understand it correctly, the county is responsible for paying for the defense of your auditor controller. Didn't know if that was a topic that's on here or not. We don't know. I also did wish to point out something on this very interesting case. It was received on the 1st, which must have been May 2nd, but was stamped in on May 1st, which led to a whole bunch of things because that was a Sunday. Hopefully that won't happen again. We want to cross our T's and dot our I's with legal documents. When did we actually get served? When did we receive them? The other thing you'll find it very interesting in this particular case is that the State Attorney General has apparently relied upon what I feel is some fraudulent information that was put out there by the county. And so instead of fact-checking it themselves, they relied upon that. So the case itself appears to be based upon fraud. That's an interesting one. I always find that interesting when legal minds don't verify facts and just go ahead and parrot what somebody else said. So it'll be interesting to see how that one progresses. I strongly support you folks getting it together on this one, because it does have major consequences. I think that they'll find that the auditor controller has an extremely strong affirmative defense, which basically will be that's discovered during discovery on this. And affirmative defense means I'm not guilty of this, or I'm not whatever you're charging me of because of this, that, and the other. And again, that will come down to such things as well. Some accusations that were made by myself and Thomas K. Eddington the other day, and these kind of things all come in as far as an affirmative defense. I did want to make mention on this, and I don't know what the other one is. I assume the number 2 is not the one that Thomas and I filed, and that was kind of, if it is, well, it was kind of an interesting thing. When you have a question asked by an attorney, the question is, have you stopped beating your wife yet? There's no way you can win. So the action we took was the exact same context. Are you willing to stop doing something that you are alleged to have done, which is illegal? Of course, you folks chose not to say we're not willing to stop it. So I don't know where that puts you, in what position. Very simple thing would say, most things will settle out on that point. We'll say, well, we're willing to stop it. But you folks weren't interested in that thing, so I guess you intend to continue to engage in the illegal activities we spoke on. So that will, that a little bit, I was going to have a trial in the court of public opinion, but I'm not going to do that today. I think you'll find that very interesting. Maybe at 1:30 we'll do that one. You also have some other things here. I think the one I've seen on here forever is the one with the AT&T. I think that goes back to 2017 or 18. I was just curious, do they get interest on the funds if they win this particular litigation? And that can end up being more money, costing you more money than the initial litigation if you go on long enough. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's only 10%, but a lot of times they award interest on these things, when they do prevail. So you want to get these things over quick, drawing them out for a long time if you're exposing yourself to extremely high interest costs. I mean, this could be more than the $137,000 penalty that maybe you're alleging the auditor controller cost us by your folks not settling something in a timely manner. Just want to put that out as far as settlement goes. It's always important to have good risk management when you go in on these things. Sometimes I've seen the county lacking risk management on all of these court cases you have, and you also need to pick your outside counsel. I recommend that you pick a counsel that's, well, I recommend you keep it in-house whenever you can. Outside counsels have very little reason to settle these things. The longer it goes on, the more money they make. And so I've seen that happen quite a bit where you drag things out and out. I think Jeffrey Blank's settlement he got there and being on paid administrative leave for a year and a half kind of set a tone to that. There's no reason these things go this far, cost the county that much money. I know some people you don't perceive it as being your money. I would hope that you'd look at it and say, hey, this is my last penny I have to spend. I'm going to treat it this way and put the time and effort into making reflective and conscious decisions. I notice I just put Rex to sleep, so I get extra points for that. Thank you for my opportunity to speak today.
All right, thank you. We do have a hand up still. I do see one. So this is, is this for 884? You can press *6 to unmute, and this is on our closed session items now. So are they unmuted yet? Again, if you wish to speak, press *6 to unmute. Okay, I am not hearing anything. All right. Well, we'll go back to the board. And is there a suggestion of how long we may be in closed session? I mean, I know that's a really wild estimate. Yeah.
I would say closed session will likely take until at least 11:30.
All right. So, okay. Well, with that, we're going to break into closed session. Adjourn to closed session. All right. Welcome back for our continuing portion of the meeting here. I'd like to go to County Council first to ask if there's any report out of closed session.
Thank you, Chair Bass. There are reportable actions out of closed session regarding items agendized as K1 and K2. The board voted unanimously to authorize Grist Management to enter into a contract with Colantuno, Highsmith, and Watley PC to defend the county in that action. The board voted unanimously not to provide a defense to the auditor controller in that action, and the board voted unanimously to authorize the law firm to pursue and initiate a cross complaint against the auditor controller in that action. And then with respect to item M1, the board voted unanimously to direct the risk manager to deny the claims for refund of property taxes levied for the 2017 and 2018 tax year, and there were no reportable actions for M2 and M3.
All right, thank you very much. And so we're actually going to take the first item initiated by a board member, as Supervisor Bohn does need to apparently get on the road shortly, and actually several others. Well, actually, several of you are leaving us today, but this is your item. It's coming from Supervisor Bohn regarding a letter to the California Fish and Game Commission, from the Commission. Okay, let me say this right. Letter to the California Fish and Game Commission regarding low flow closures on the Eel River. So at this point, I will hand this over to Supervisor Bohn.
Well, and this is brought to us actually by our Humboldt County Fish and Game Advisory Committee, which is an advisory committee for us on items to do with hunting and fishing and the like in Humboldt County. So they've brought this forward. I believe Kenny Priest is here to explain it. I think he's going to talk about the financial implications and the implications that the fish will be safe with tidal influence. And so I look forward to hearing what Kenny has and brought this forward for the Fish and Game Advisory Commission at their request.
All right, and I do believe he is on. So are you hearing us? Kenny, you want to talk? Does he need to press *6 to unmute? Oh, I heard, never good when I hear, oh no. He's unmuted?
Madam Chair, he's unmuted, but I'm not hearing him.
Okay, Kenny, if you're,
He's talking.
but we're not hearing him. Okay, Kenny, don't talk for a few minutes while we try to sort out this technical. Would that be his volume? No. Yeah. He's not muted. You can visually see he's not muted, correct?
That's correct.
Help is on the way. Are you sure you can hear us? Okay. Does anyone have a cell number? If you happen to just turn this on, we are just trying to clear up a technical situation. Should we try to do one quick thing in between here? Do we have anything we could do really quickly? Yeah, Director Ford just, Director Ford, go.
Can I ask a?
Yes,
Can I
please,
ask a
Supervisor
question?
Bohn.
Is there opposition to the letter from the Fish and Game Commission?
Well, it's not the letter from the Fish and Game Commission. It's the letter that we're proposed to send out on our name. I have some issues with, yeah, definitely.
Okay, a lot of issues or just wordsmithing?
Yeah, some issues. The main issue is that it's written in. This happens almost every time we entertain a letter that comes from Fish and Game Commission, and I'm hoping that we can take care of this in the future. Which is, it's just a lot of hearsay in the letter, and it's represented as if we're in the meetings that they were in, and we're representing them. And in the past, I've asked us to, if we want to have a letter that comes from Fish and Game that goes out, that it's just basically attached to a notice that this is Fish and Game's letter, and we're informing you that this is their opinion about this. Because there's just, I'll just read a sentence. This is a letter from us. Remember, when the question was asked as to why the department is not more insistent about ensuring there is adequate river flows coming from the 2 dams in the Eel River, a satisfactory answer was not provided. I wasn't there. No one here was there. How is it that we make that judgment? And then there's many more in here. And my point is it's just not really put together in a way that it's from us. That was my microphone's on. So there's that. There's also, is there anyone here from Fish and Game that's here? Not the commission, but actually Fish and Game to represent, to give us their opinion about this discussion. There isn't. And so I just don't feel that this is ripe. I also want to say that in the letter that came from the Fish and Game Advisory Commission, there's some things in there I'm also not very sure of. So for me, it's just I can't support the letter in its current format, and so that's where I'm at.
Right. Supervisor Bohn?
And I can fully understand that, so maybe we can just tell, and we can personally do what we think we need to do on this and just let the Fish and Game Commission send the letter on their own, and if we want to follow up with it.
I would have a suggestion, which is that we take the letter that was given to us by the Fish and Game Commission and just forward it as that's what we're saying. This is the letter we received from Fish and Game. This is
With their concerns.
This is their concerns. Please be advised.
And the Supervisor Bushnell?
So a couple clarifying questions. So the Fish and Game is an advisory committee for this board. So sending a letter is not sending a statement from this board? They're an advisory committee.
They may be an advisory committee, but if the letter says clearly that this is a letter that we received from them, we're letting you know that we received it. That's not necessarily an endorsement of it. It's just an advisory. That's as far as I'm willing to go under what we have currently in front of us right now.
Well,
And all I'm going to say is that's probably the way it sits right now. And then if they want to bring it back in 2 weeks, when we actually have Connection or Kenny or somebody, and maybe we could reach out to the Fish and Game if they want to send somebody, that would be fine. I'm not as worked up about the letter as, because I know the tidal influence at Fulmore because I had a pickup get washed up during duck season there 25 years ago, so there is tidal influence. So I don't, if they want to send it the way it is, that's fine, or we can send their letter from us, but we should notify them that we would like, if not, we'll put it on in 2 weeks when we have connectivity and we have all these people that need to show up.
If we're going to wait 2 weeks, then my advice is that the letter be rewritten in a way that it's not their voice on our letterhead. And I think that it's so grammatically incorrect in terms of that. It doesn't speak well to us as an organization when we're putting our letterhead and our signatures on something that doesn't make sense.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you, through the chair. I just have a procedural question. An advisory committee, they advise the board on what their ideas and thoughts are, and then we take action from there. Do other advisory committees send off letters without our input?
Supervisor Wilson?
I don't think so.
I'm not okay with sending this letter forward, being that it's an advisory committee, with our board not being okay with it.
Well, that's why it's here today, I think. But
I'm hearing interest from Supervisor. I was going to say I'm hearing interest from Supervisor Bohn, who brought this to us at the request that we bring it back in 2 weeks, invite relevant parties. I agree it needs to be rewritten. I mean, my personal feeling is it needs to be rewritten from the point of the board itself, and in clearly different language that makes more sense grammatically, et cetera. So I don't have an issue with that. If we can get the relevant people here, and if we can get Kenny here, actually.
I'm just saying, if the relevant people can't be here in 2 weeks, then they can send the letter as they want. I mean, I don't know if we can preclude them from sending a letter. I mean, we all have members on the board. I'd hate to tell an advisory board, you're only advisory if we approve you. I think that's why we have a cross-section of what we all feel we're being represented on there. And obviously, Kenny and is very involved. He's head of the Guide Association and everything else. So I imagine maybe the letter isn't grammatically correct. It's probably more along my lines of writing it than your lines of writing it, Mike. But the other thing is, I don't think the passion is any less, nor the fact that they've been fishing it for 40 years and know exactly what they're talking about. So
I get that, and I think from my perspective, if we want to give the Fish and Game Advisory Commission the authority to send their own letter on their own letterhead, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. That's just my opinion.
Supervisor Bohn.
And where I'm going with it, they have that option, or to come back in 2 weeks to do a full presentation, and we can invite the Fish and Game to.
And process-wise, it's just not the coming back with a full presentation. I just would like it if we're being asked to send out letters on our letterhead that we sign our names to, that we get a little bit of vetting in terms of the grammar of it, the tense of it, the perspective on it. It just would be great if they made sense, and that's kind of.
I could rewrite it.
Yeah, and I don't know who would do that. That there's a process issue with that. I mean, it's, I think what should be probably in the future with other committees is they give us the issues they want us to write about, and then staff basically puts a letter together that makes sense. And that'll be what.
Like when we advocate for legislative things on our platform, is what I'm hearing you kind of say. Supervisor Madrone, did you want to add anything? Nope. So, Supervisor Bohn?
Well, and I think they just gave us an advisory letter. I don't think they're married to the letter, so I'm just saying we can let them send the letter as written, and then if they want to redraft it or come back in 2 weeks, we can look at it again in 2 weeks, or else they can send it on their letterhead. And I don't even know if that's a motion. I think that's just let them do with what they want, and if they need to come back in 2 weeks and we don't have technical difficulties, and I think that's just that's easy. That respects our commission, and I think it respects their message, even though it's not proper, and that way
Let me make a motion to that effect. So I'll make a motion that the Board of Supervisors, that we authorize the Fish and Game Commission to send an independent letter to California Fish and Wildlife related to estuary fisheries regulations for the Eel River.
or the letter they've got. Okay, second.
I think he's just trying to make it a broader,
I'm just giving them.
that covers the letter.
But I will say,
With the option to bring it back in 2 weeks. if they-
Sure. Yeah, if someone wants to bring it back, they can do that. And I will say, I mean, there's certain things in there I'm also cautious of. There are sentences in here that says, and that ask that they direct CDFW and FCG staff to continue a dialogue with Humboldt County. And I don't know who that is. Like, is that you? Is that me? Is that our?
Commission itself?
Is it the commission? It's not just, so I'm just saying, like, it's things like that in the letter that really make it hard to track and understand what the message is. So,
Maybe Humboldt community is what they mean.
yeah.
Supervisor Bohn? Okay.
It's fine. That gives them the option to do what they think is credible, and we as independent supervisors can sign on if we want or not.
Yes, Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. Through the chair, what, can I ask if anybody on this board would know what the reaction to this letter would be? Are they going to reach back out to their committee or us? Well,
we don't know.
So are they going to assume that it's our representation because they're our advisory committee?
In the Fish and Game Commission?
Well, but they also, I would just say, before I go to Supervisor Bohn, our commissions have a right to have a different thought than we do at times. I mean, it happens is with some, and so I would like to think they could be seen as an somewhat autonomous body. Supervisor Bohn, I think your hand was up.
I'm fine with it. They'll figure it out.
Okay.
There's some pretty bright guys out there.
public comment? I think we'll go to, oh,
I just wanted to say clearly before we get to public comment, I do really appreciate the work of the Fish and Game Commission and everyone that's working on there and all the issues that they do. And it's great that they put, and by the way, we're always looking for more volunteers to be on the commission. So if anyone, there's seats always open. So please let your supervisor know or any of us know if you're interested. And so I don't want to take away from the work that they're doing, but I want to put out there that maybe we need a little more help with them to get letters that work for this body. Thanks.
yes, there is. I thought he heard. Yeah, I heard him say it.
I didn't hear. Also, I'm sorry, Supervisor Wilson, do you mind restating, is it basically to send the letter that's attached? Okay.
No, it's to give authorization to the Fish and Game Commission to send a letter under their own letterhead to the Fish and Game Commission of California. That's all.
Oh, thank you.
All right. We'll go out to the public. If you did wish to speak on this item and you're listening, press *9 to raise your hand. Can someone call? Excuse me, we need to test someone to call in from the office. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for coming in person.
Ken Sawatsky. Yeah, I'm autistic and I can't help myself, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people up here all have phones. Kenny Priest could have called any of you and you could have held it up to your microphone and he could have spoke. Just to kind of go around, I think would actually work for that, but maybe not. You need to have alternatives here. It happened before Planning Commission. We had to kind of backdoor a few things. So I do appreciate the conversation that you had here. It's important that if as a board, it represents what you want to have out there. On the other hand, you could always have a letter saying this is being sent to you by 4 members of the board approving the letter, and 1 member is abstaining because he doesn't have enough information to vote on the topic. So you always have ways that you could put this on your letterhead and send this forward. I always appreciate your support that you have for your commissions, and they're doing a great job out there. And of course, a little bit of trust also. If you're going to put their words on your letterhead with your name on it and everything, that's important to do. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to let them come back and maybe give something. Maybe Supervisor Wilson, in the meantime, could wordsmith what he feels he's comfortable with and bring it forward to you folks and maybe reach out to, I suppose they'll have to have a special meeting. If it's to be within 2 weeks, they probably meet every month or something like that. I think, isn't Ted Romo still on that? He was before. Anyway, you have some great people on there, and I appreciate you bringing forward. It's so important to take care of that fishery. And if we just sit here quiet and don't say anything about it at all because we've got problems with our protocols and techniques up here, that would be a big mistake, and it's a time issue. It's time sensitive as far as I'm concerned, as far as making sure we bring that fishery back. So I always appreciate the wise words of Supervisor Madrone. He kept quiet. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this one, and it seemed to take a long time to hash it out, but maybe next time when it comes back, or these come back in the future, it'll be a little bit quicker, and you'll also have your technology dialed in so that your outside people can speak. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on this.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? All right, seeing none, we'll go back to the board. We do have.
We're going to.
Thank you,
Chair Bass. We're going to test it to see.
Okay,
So
we're having a call-in test, and then we'll go to Supervisor Madrone. It's not even showing it as a speaker to me. Okay. We're doing a test. We can't hear you. Okay. Oh, lovely. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for doing that test. We'll have to take a break. Supervisor Madrone and then Bohn.
Just for clarity's sake, our commission is the Fish and Game Commission, but California Department of Fish and Game is now the California Department of Fish and Wildlife.
That's right, yeah.
Just to be clear.
That's true.
So that's who the letter would be going to. Doesn't matter what it says on the paper. The fact is, they're now called the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, not to be confused with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So it can get confusing.
And so, did you have your hand up, Supervisor Bohn?
And this is just a legal question. Since we're running a hybrid meeting both ways, we're meeting our legal obligation by having an in-person meeting, even if the hybrid fails, even if the call-in section fails. The way I understand it?
It's not the preference, but.
It would be ideal if people could, because that's.
Fully understand, but I'm just saying we're meeting the legal ramifications.
We are here in person and people are commenting. They
Okay.
can comment in person.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion that's been seconded, and I think I'm waiting for the vote screen to come up. Apparently the computers have spring fever or something. Something's not working right. Yeah, mine came up. That's weird. Mine did.
That's okay. I'm happy to do roll call to make it easy. So we'll start with you, Supervisor Madrone. Great. Supervisor Wilson.
Yep.
Supervisor Bass.
Yes, please.
Supervisor Bohn. Sure. And Supervisor Bushnell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
So,
Chair,
yes, ma'am.
would you want to take a couple minute break so
I
I
was-
can reboot Zoom and see if that will help?
Yeah, I know we have people that want to get on the road, but that's our job is here, and so I'm fine. I think that would be better for the public if we can give it another shot. So,
Okay.
how long would you like to try to reboot?
I would say it wouldn't even be 5 minutes to reboot it. It'd probably be a couple minutes.
Okay, so
Literally just rebooting.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Just like 12:05 or
Total of 5 or less.
All right, welcome back. We hope for the, no, this works. So last we left where we were doing our vote on the fish and game letter, is that correct? We voted, and so that's now, you're done, okay. So before we move on to the next item, we believe we have our technical difficulties fixed from this morning of calling in. People were able to call in and have their hands raised, but were not able to be heard when they unmute. So this might sound strange, but if you happen to be the person with the last 4 digits of 4884, and you were on earlier this morning to comment, I think it was on the consent calendar, and if you are listening, you can press *6, and we will take your comment either now or even later in this meeting, because we found out we had a glitch, and that was the one person who had actually tried to call in. This sounds really silly. So we'll proceed with this next item, and if I see 4664 call in, we will go to them after we finish whatever item we're on. Does that sound like it makes okay sense to you, Nikki? Nothing makes sense
Does.
today, but
As much as it's going to today.
All
Thank you,
right.
Chair Bass.
thank you. Okay, so I think at this point, we're going to go over to Supervisor Bushnell. Are we going to do the fentanyl item now? Okay, thank you. I'm just making sure because today has been kind of weird. Did you want your proclamation? Sorry, pardon me. So this item comes to us from Supervisor Bushnell, and it's regarding fentanyl and a specific proclamation, and I'm just going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm going to read the proclamation at the end. So when I was at CSAC a month ago, I learned that today would be the first National Fentanyl Day Awareness Day. And, there's a lot of conversation that you hear. There's a lot of media that stems around how it's affecting counties and the world as a whole. And so today being the day, I wanted to recognize it. I've asked Sheriff Hansel and Sophie from DHHS to also present. So the reason behind the national awareness is to bring information forward and awareness and recognize that we as a society have a large problem. I wanted to read a couple things if I could. Fentanyl is the single deadliest drug that our nation has ever encountered. Fentanyl is everywhere, from large metropolitan areas to rural America. No community is safe from this poison. We must take every opportunity to spread the word to prevent the fentanyl-related overdoses claiming scores of American lives every day. For the first time in our nation's history, over 100,000 people have died of drug overdose in a single year. Illicit fentanyl fueled the opiate epidemic, and fentanyl poisoning and overdose is now the leading cause of death for adults in the age from 18 to 45 in the United States, surpassing suicide, gun violence, and car accidents. Fentanyl deaths in America across all age groups doubled from 32,000 fatalities to 62,000 fatalities in over 2 years. We got some heard some presentation last week, but I would like to have more presentation around awareness and what we're doing to combat the fentanyl issues in our communities. So if I could have Sheriff Hansel and Sophia come up.
Welcome.
Okay, is this working?
We certainly hope so. I
I
think
don't see
so.
a switch, so.
I think you're being called. Yeah, you're on.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Supervisor Bushnell, I appreciate you bringing this item forward. Being May 10th, National Fentanyl Awareness Day, I think it's important that we do have this information out in the forefront here in Humboldt County. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a skyrocket in local use and also overdose here in Humboldt County. We touched on that last week, and we're going to continue to touch on this. It's going to be the priority for our drug task force and our local police departments and the sheriff's office to get the word out that fentanyl is everywhere now. It is being laced in every single drug, whether it's powdered heroin, tar heroin, coke, meth, even marijuana. And so it is literally everywhere. And just to give you a little, history lesson, this is a drug that is 100 times more powerful than morphine. It was generated to help people overcome the symptoms of cancer and pain management for severe chronic illness and chronic pain. And of course, over time, drug dealers, drug manufacturers, illicit drug manufacturers found out that this is an easy thing that they can replicate and also sell on the black market all over the world, and now in the United States, virtually every part of the 50 states has an issue with fentanyl now. It has been manufactured in China, Mexico, and it's being pumped through our border right now through all over in the United States. We had a heroin problem here 2 years ago. We virtually have no one dying of heroin overdose anymore. It is all fentanyl. And so this is a drug that can be injected, snorted, smoked, and consumed. And as we know as well, doesn't take very much for it. A few grains is a usable amount. And as we testified last week in front of you all, we have people that are heading south, whether it's the Bay Area, San Francisco, Sacramento. They're purchasing it for $300 to $400 and turning around and selling it locally for up to $3,000 for the same amount. A usable amount purchased on the street is 1 gram, $100, and they can break that up a lot of different ways. And so it is, again, quickly turned to be the drug of choice here on the North Coast. 2019, we had 6 arrests. So far this year, we've had 70 arrests. That is right at last year's numbers. Last year's. And that's not counting today's arrests. Okay? And over 33 pounds have been seized. Last week we reported out some overdose numbers, and they've increased. So now we have 12 overdoses confirmed, and we have another 12 plus that are in the stage of we're testing them to make sure that it is fentanyl. But we have possibly 12 more, so 24 so far this year, and we had 35 last year. And so this has affected all of us. I'm tired of hearing the stories. Our coroner's office is tired of having to share the bad news to loved ones. The stat that stands out the most is that our under 40, our young are dying from this. It is the leading cause of death for 14 to 23-year-olds right now. And it is everywhere. And the fact is that the illicit drug manufacturers now are using fentanyl to package it into fake pills. Fake pills are everywhere. They may look like oxycodone, OxyContin. They could look like Percocet, Xanax, but it's fentanyl out there. And so I'm just urging people, whether it's schools, whether it is in the home, family, loved ones, encourage your children, encourage the youth, encourage college students. Do not take any prescription drugs that you don't know for sure came from a pharmacy, that you were prescribed, because you really don't know what it is. And it really could take one pill and that you're it. It's done. So I'm thankful for these, Narcan, because without this, without public health providing these to our community, without Narcan being widely distributed to law enforcement and our first responders, is we would have a lot more overdose deaths. Because we have our Narcan spray, we're able to save lives, including our own, because there's been accidental exposures. And so I'm thankful that we do have this, and we have the ability to present it and provide this to our first responders. But I'm here to answer any questions, and I really appreciate the support, and we're going to continue to get the word out. It's going to be part of our drug task force. It has become the #1 priority of our drug task force to go after the dealers, but it's also going to be our #1 priority to provide public information out there, to meet with families, to meet with schools, provide this information to our youth.
Thank you, Sheriff Hansel. So now I would like DHHS to present on opiate awareness and opioid awareness, and which I think fentanyl falls in that category, and preventative measures and education for our county.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Bushnell and your board, for the opportunity to present on this issue. Thank you, Sheriff Hansel, as well. Did want to provide to your board some folders that have educational materials. What's the best way for me to get? Okay. I also have here with me today Michael Weiss, the Program Services Coordinator for our North Coast AIDS Project, NORCAP, which does a lot of education and outreach in the community. And then I believe on Zoom, we have Sarah Nelson, our Senior Health Education Specialist with our Substance Use Prevention Program and Public Health. And so the two of them will also share a little bit more detail. But I really wanted to build upon what Sheriff Hansel was sharing about some of the data that we have about the impact of fentanyl in our community. Our epidemiologists found, and this is something they've been tracking for several years, Public Health does track the number of overdose deaths that occur, including fentanyl poisoning deaths. And so they found from 2020 to 2021, a 363% increase in fentanyl poisoning deaths. And then, like Sheriff Hansel alluded to, in 2021, 54% of these fentanyl poisoning deaths were among people 39 years old and younger in Humboldt County. Based on the numbers that we have so far, we're on track, very unfortunately, to see about 40 deaths this year if we continue on that trajectory. So obviously that number could change, but the modeling that our epidemiologists did looked like that's what we were trending towards, so an increase over 2021. And these are preventable deaths, and that's why we have an interest in addressing this in public health. And you will have in your folders some fact sheets with some of the data. You will also have information, examples of the educational materials that Michael will speak about in a moment. And then also there's resources from the National Fentanyl Awareness Day toolkit, some educational materials there as well. And so Michael, I'll turn over you to talk a bit about how we use these educational materials.
Thank you, Supervisor
things that I wanted to bring awareness to. Okay, can you hear me now? All right, thank you. Our public health outreach, mobile outreach, goes all over the county, and part of their day-to-day contact with individuals is fentanyl awareness, overdose prevention, distributing free naloxone. Today, in fact, we had our outreach van partner with a bunch of other agencies and do a naloxone awareness distribution from 9 to 1. We partnered with Hatcher, UIHS, also the public health COVID team doing vaccinations and testing, and then the AHA showers. So that happened this afternoon. We focused on fentanyl-specific awareness and giving away free naloxone, which is the opioid blocker which can reverse an overdose. In the packet, I have a few things we wanted to share with you. One is our Narcan distribution, naloxone distribution over the last few years. On average, we give out about normally 1,200, 1,300 doses a year. It's jumped this year to about 3,000 doses. And the demand is getting higher from the community, from people who are using drugs, people who have people around them, people who are just scared of their family members might get something by accident. So that's in there. We also included...
I think Supervisor Bohn has a question for you.
And this gets asked, what does a treatment cost? What does it cost to treat somebody that overdoses? I mean, with Narcan or with...
The naloxone we get free from the state, and we're able to hand out free.
Okay.
So in the handouts, I wanted to share with you our schedule, our mobile outreach schedule, so you can see where we go in the county, along with our fentanyl-specific educational materials on how to test. We give out free fentanyl test strips where people can test any substances they might be using or something that they're concerned about. We label how to read those test strips. We have warnings on the fake pills and how they look identical to the regular pills, the prescription pills. And then we have a couple different fentanyl warnings. Every encounter we get, every contact gets information on fentanyl overdose prevention and is offered free naloxone if they want it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And then, Sarah, if you were on the line, would you be able to talk a little bit about your work in substance use prevention?
Right. You see her on there, Nikki?
She's on there. I just asked her to unmute. So far she's
Okay. All right. So we'll give her a moment here.
Oh, she's saying she has no audio. So
So first we had no audio. Now she has no audio.
yeah, I know. She's like, I can't hear anything. So I'll just go ahead. I have some of her information, and then if there's obviously any follow-up questions that are more at that programmatic level, obviously we will get back to you with more details. So the substance use prevention program obviously focuses on substance use prevention, but really an emphasis around youth, around opioids, cannabis, and alcohol, but obviously want to focus this conversation on opioid outreach. So there's really three buckets of work in substance use prevention. So there's the community resources. So this is, medication disposal bins, providing free medication lock boxes so that those prescription medications that, folks may have, they are in a safe and secure place. Then there's also the youth education. So in high schools, our team uses evidence-based curriculum from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the brain science of addiction, and this is something that we do in schools that's really helping students have decisions around, not using drugs or alcohol. And then there's the prescription drug prevention aspect, which definitely relates here. And there's some curriculum that's being developed for 3rd and 4th graders that's going to be implemented in the fall. So that's not something that we currently have, but it's really focusing on medication safety, including information on the dangers of taking pills that are not prescribed to you by a doctor, and then how to identify a safe adult to talk to. So those are some of the things that we're really focusing on, that youth education. And then there's also parent and adult education that happens. So providing education to parents and caregivers on how to talk to youth about substance use. And this is, working with family resource centers and the Foster Parent Association. And then our substance use prevention team is really active in RX Safe Humboldt and Humboldt Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention. And so this is really bringing together representation from all different sectors in the community, really focusing on how we can collaboratively work on substance use prevention education in our community.
Supervisor Bohn.
Yeah, I was wondering, with all those the foster, and that's great to get all the stuff out to them. Is there a way we can get this into the curriculum? I mean, into the schools, into their curriculum? Because I mean, it's hit epic proportions. It's the schools are having this same problem, and I know they all have to take a certain amount of science and health and welfare classes and electives and things like that. But it almost sounds like this should be in the elementary and into the high school curriculum, so we can train these people how to talk other people out of it and everything else. Because we're gonna take the foster. The only thing they all have in common is they all go to a school. Hopefully, you're gonna probably have to do the charter schools. You're gonna have to do the whole night, but they're all listed through the HCOE. So it almost seems like they should be our major partner and look at doing this in a curriculums day, because like First Five, like everything else, it's what we can mold them when they're young, is what our results are going to be, and that's where I look. And you training people when they're in their 20s and 30s, they know what they're doing. They're on a spiral. They know what they're doing. So more often than not. So I don't know if that's possible. If that's because I say we should have financial education in schools too. But I mean, but the thing is, this is getting to be such an epic. I mean, we were able to close the schools down for a pandemic, but we're getting to that stage where the problem is we're putting things into children's homes, even if it's for their parents, that is becoming accessible or easy to come by. And I think somewhere in there we're going to have to take it into the and get the best bang for our buck. But if we can do it on a combined, go to the city council, go to everything else, and go meet with HCOE and say, hey, we think that this needs to be in a classroom once a month. I mean, it may be repetitive, and even a little more extreme, than DARE. But along those lines. But I think the youth is where we should start looking out for, and then transfer it into the adults. We have to look out for everybody, because it's such a cumbersome, and you hear the numbers are really bad in rural America, but it's coming from metro America and then coming to us. So I just think that would be something to look at, and I would love to help you try to get that going, because we need to scare the kids straight. We need to scare them from this stuff, because they don't get it. A lot of this stuff, they don't get a second opportunity.
Oh, go ahead. Sure, go ahead, Sophia, and then Supervisor Bushnell.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Supervisor Bohn. I think there's definitely an opportunity to increase education in schools, and so definitely we'll bring that back to the team, the support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have two questions, one for you and one for the sheriff. My first question to you guys is, how does someone obtain is it Narcan, or what are you calling it?
Narcan is the brand name. Naloxone is the medication.
Okay. So how, if someone in our community is wanting that, how do they obtain that?
They can either call Public Health Maine or walk in directly at also the Community Wellness Center, and they can get it for free right there and then, and we'll train them how to use it.
Okay, and then also I was wondering, either from you or from Sheriff Hansel, signs of overdose from fentanyl. There are a lot of people kids, younger generation, that are at parties. What are some signs that you would watch for?
The signs are the same across all opioids. So you want to look for somebody being responsive. If somebody has passed out and they're not responsive, we look to shake them, try and call their name. If you don't get any response, we encourage people to rub kind of their knuckles on the sternum to see if they wake up. Listen for what's called a heavy breathing, almost like a gurgling sound can happen. And if that point, it is a good, you call 911. If you have naloxone, administer it, because if they're not on an opioid, the naloxone isn't going to make a difference or hurt them. It only could potentially bring them out of an overdose.
Okay, thank you for that. And then my question is to Sheriff Hansel. How many of your deputies are carrying the Narcan device?
So we're all issued them right now. We're working out a training schedule right now. It takes 2 hours of training in order to train all the deputies for this. So we're in the process of making sure that all our deputies are properly trained. It protects us, it protects the community. And so they're trained. If we see someone that's unresponsive, just like it's been described here, then we administer the Narcan. And sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4 doses in order for someone to come out of it.
Wow. Thank you. So my second question would be, when you're seeing overdose, are you seeing, or are you able to determine, did they take a specific pill that they thought was fentanyl, or is it an item that was laced with fentanyl?
So sometimes it comes down to, after we bring someone out, or, we find the controlled substances, we can figure out how they ingested it. Sometimes it's a pill, sometimes it's powder, sometimes it's through injection, and whether it's a liquid or whatnot. So we usually kind of follow up, afterwards and kind of see how they administered it.
And what are your results?
Well, we don't have those. That's not something that we keep track of.
Okay.
As far as that goes, but it's just shared amongst law enforcement as well as our drug task force.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Supervisor Bohn, and then I want to make sure I go to Supervisor Madrone in case you've got any questions at the moment. You're way down there.
And seeing Narcan, or the generic name, operate twice, it's pretty amazing to see what happens. But you say the deputies have to have a 2-hour training. Now, if you have somebody come in, it doesn't take them 2 hours to respond to that. And then the other factor, are we getting to that point where you're suggesting most everybody that's out and about should probably have this in their glove compartment because it's gotten to be, because I'm gonna ask for one in my glove compartment because we see this on a daily basis, not knowing, and walk by and I'm just wondering. And the big thing about it is not going to hurt you if they didn't need it. It's going to wake them up.
Yeah, I think that really is the big message here, is that if folks want access to it, they can get it, and it's at no cost to them. There's no harm in having it on you. So definitely want to encourage folks to have it if they have any concern or just want to be ready with it.
So the message, though, is not to rely on Narcan. It's to know it, to not take the substance.
Sure.
So.
No,
I know, but people sometimes get, okay, well, I'll just try it, and then I have this Narcan right here, and it'll fix me. That's not always the case, as I hear that sheriffs say they've had to use the drug that you use 2 to 3 times. So it's not a guarantee that it'll fix you. Is that correct?
And people don't self-administer.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. But
right.
just
So
to clarify, Supervisor Bohn commented on how long the training was. For the public, general public, it can be a 15-minute training. All they have to know is how to administer it, and it's a nasal spray.
Can you take back to the team while you're doing this to make this 15 minutes or elongated and put it in a video and put it online so people can get it, and they can tell people, hey, I've got 5 people living in my house. We have 2 things of Narcan in the bread basket or wherever you hide your stuff. Put your stuff, and then watch this video so you don't have that steady stream, or maybe it is already online.
We have access to a number of videos that we use in trainings, and then the website Stop Overdose Humboldt also has a video training on it.
Well, I think isn't Narcan also, I mean, anyone who's getting opioids prescribed to them, aren't they kind of like encouraged to have some in their house? So, I mean, especially older people, I remember hearing that, because it doesn't have to just be drugs that you're not supposed to take. It's actually, it can be drugs you're supposed to take that still can do you bad things to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd ask, did you have a question yet? Sorry.
Thank you for bringing this forward and for all the work that you're all doing to try and increase awareness. I mean, that's obviously a first step. It was mentioned that this drug was developed to try and help reduce pain. And I think in many ways that's what's going on, is people are in massive pain, whether they're homeless or having other housing insecurities or all kinds of different issues for why they're experiencing dis-ease or pain. And so they do drugs, you know, and these things are pain reducers, right? So there's this whole cycle happening. But I think some of it is also just somebody wants to get high, you know, they think this is going to be a nice, convenient way to do that. You know, it's just a really sad situation. And obviously education is a huge piece of this, but also I just want to thank DHHS staff for all the work you're doing to try and help reduce the pain in our community with all the various services that are being developed. And it's great to see increasing funding coming down for services. We have a long way to go to be able to really help all those that want help. But I want to thank staff for all that you are doing to try and deal with that, because there's certainly no shortage of pain going around, frankly speaking. So, Sheriff Hansel, and at Public Health, are you also seeing this laced into marijuana, into pre-rolls, or is it showing up in that way also?
I'm not really aware of any local cases, but we have heard, you know,
Okay.
nationally that has occurred.
So mostly it's pill form or powder
Yes.
form, that kind of thing. that's
Liquid
happening.
powder, yes.
Snorting or ingesting or whatever, yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, again, thank you for your presentation.
Supervisor Bohn?
And I think I heard you say something earlier, and I'm not sure which side it came from. The fentanyl deaths are coming from, and this is the problem, if you notice the clientele that we seem to bust every 3 or 4 days bringing it in, they're not chemists, they're not scientists, but they are mixing it, or they're mixing it with methamphetamine to try to, they're basically cutting the heroin more, cutting just to make their money. So nobody's buying straight fentanyl to take straight fentanyl. People are buying heroin, methamphetamine, and everything else, and then the fentanyl is creating the situation. So just for clarification, isn't it? Because, and then we're also seeing it, we're seeing it in pill form and things like that. Or do people actually take straight fentanyl and want to have straight fentanyl? And see, the part that gets me confused here is when one small grain will kill you, how do you take straight fentanyl?
Right. It is cut with a lot of different substances, but it also is put into liquid and injected. Yeah. And the serious opioid users obviously have built up a tolerance. Yeah. And so they're going to need more and more to get the euphoria, the high, the feeling of being, you know, under the influence, so to speak.
So this kind of comes along the same line a couple years ago when we had the rash of heroin deaths, that it was 80% pure or 90% pure. It wasn't cut down to 35, 40%. So they were taking what they usually get, and they're using such scientific bases in their bathtubs. But anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to DHHS for all the awareness and preventative measures and education. That's super important. I also want to say thank you to the Sheriff's Department, your continued efforts to get it off the street. I also want to recognize that the increased risk that it brings to your officers. I saw last week an officer, I think it was in Sacramento, died from fentanyl poisoning. And it's super sad that something like this has to increase the risk of the officers and anybody that comes in contact with that substance. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept this proclamation. However, I don't want to read the proclamation. I do want to close with National Illicit Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day is established in remembrance of the loved ones who lost their lives due to illicit fentanyl poisoning, and to acknowledge the devastation this drug brings to hundreds of thousands of affected families and communities and their friends.
Okay, thank you. We will go for public comment. And so if you are listening on the phone, please press *9 if you want to raise your hand and speak. But we will go to those who are in person today. And if you're here to speak, welcome.
Well, it's sad, and it says, I think Supervisor Madrone summed it up most. It's a lot of people in a lot of pain. Unfortunately, the pain's not going away. It's multiplying. Families are dysfunctional. People can't get jobs. Until you solve those problems, you're going to always have a fentanyl or equivalent out there. You're addressing the symptom rather than the cause. It's interesting, I think, and I really would like to see the stats as far as fentanyl deaths in China or Mexico or Russia. People who do conspiracy theories think that they're using this drug, and I tend to concur, to break down our particular society. That's why we are being targeted, I think. We're perceived to be weak, and of course it is having a major effect. This has been done before in the past, but it's a weapon. It's a weapon that's being used, a fatal weapon, and there is no solution for it other than families can reach out to your children, make sure they feel loved, take care of each other. And those are the people that will survive. The people who don't have that backup, that family thing. Down in Mexico, it's so tight. Maybe it's loosening up now, but you'll notice a lot of things that where the family's part of this, people get the help. They feel loved. They feel wanted, and they have a job. That's a big thing. Until we redo our economy and our situation in the United States, where everybody can have a job, whether it's living wage or not, and feel accomplishment of doing something and a self-worth. You're going to see these drugs be more prevalent and be more vulnerability amongst the people. So not optimistic about this particular one. It's always nice to acknowledge it. Now, what can actually be done? Very little, I think, but that's unfortunate. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you. All right, no one else from the public, and we have no hands up. All right, so we'll go back. I did want to ask, if I may ask a question. Sheriff Hansel, I think it was brought up about other countries. Is the United States disproportionately affected by the fentanyl issues, or is it?
I think this is a worldwide issue. The DEA is totally focusing on this right now as well, and I know they're working with our, international partners. And and anyway, this has everything to do with the cartels making money on this and exploiting, us here in America as well.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Bushnell, anything else to add? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation. And we're going to have a roll call vote. Oh, it did pop up now? Okay, wait. Mine's back on, but Rex's didn't pop up. Supervisor Bones is not, however.
All right, we'll do a roll call. So Supervisor Bohn.
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Yes, and thank you today to both presenters.
Supervisor Madrone.
Yes.
And Supervisor Bass.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. How's that go? 4-0 since Supervisor Wilson's
absent.
out.
I was going to say, almost feels like a proclamation for technical glitch day. So we will move on. We have 2 public hearings, both of them coming out to us from Planning and Building. Both of them are a little bit different than our usual. The first one is Eubanks Farm LLC, an appeal of the Planning Commission's conditional approval. And so at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and just turn this straight over to Director Ford.
Actually, Chair, we had to keep this on the agenda because it was advertised, but the appeal has been withdrawn. There is nothing to have a public hearing on.
Okay, we were told by county council to still open the public hearing. Because that's what, it wasn't her.
There,
I mean, if you don't want to open it,
you can, but there is virtually no
Okay,
application.
so, well, we did, so if there's anyone, because we have to offer public comment, no matter what we call it. So there is no application pending, there's no appeal pending, it's been pulled off. So basically, we have this on the agenda because it was noticed to be on the agenda.
Correct.
But there is no project, basically.
Correct.
Okay. So we do have, if there's anyone in the public on the phone that wished to comment on the non-subject, I guess you could say, you can press *9 and raise your hand. We do have one individual in person here, so we'll go there first. Like I said, these are different than usual. It's kind of nice, different.
Ken Swatsky, I think you'll see this not necessarily coming forward, but people will not be appealing these things the way they were. The perception out there by the public was that your planning commission would take the time to work through a project and they could come to you to appeal and they would get their way. And that quite frequently happened on certain issues. That's unfortunate. I think you need to have a little more trust in your planning commission, their decisions they make, not make it feel like you're going to come over the top of them. I think that what you'll find is that a lot of these people are realizing why go ahead and spend the money and time to appeal something when the market has gone so flat? Why spend the legal expense to do that? And you will have a lot less appeals coming forward, because why waste the time when you're probably not going to be selling the product anymore and it goes away? So anyway, I guess I could make another comment on, I think John's got another one being continued here on the next one. So John kind of got another pass. I think that's his good karma. All of a sudden, the water partying and he doesn't have to deal with things at this meeting. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on this one. I hope the people out there, realize that, what a good job your planning commission does. And I hope you folks appreciate that and in the future. We'll really look really hard at overturning an appeal, and just splitting the baby, as you seem to sometimes, to kind of make the applicant happy because they spent the $2,500 and the $10,000 in legal fees to get there. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, excuse me, thank you. And there are no speakers on the Zoom, so there's no action to actually even take, from my understanding. So with this, we will close the public hearing that was a non-public hearing. Gotta love today. So this next item, however, is a little bit different. It's a public hearing on an item that was continued from April 5th regarding the Danny David appeal of the Planning Division denial of a lot line adjustment. So, Director Ford, I'm opening this public hearing.
Yeah. On this one, it is appropriate to open the public hearing. This is still a permit that's under consideration. We've met with the applicant. They're pursuing possibly some other alternatives to what they brought forward to the board on appeal. And so we're recommending, in agreement with the applicant, that you do continue this. It could result in a complete withdrawal of the appeal and an end to this, with another application being considered.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No? No supervisors with questions? Nope. All right, and I don't see anybody online yet. So at this point, we do have one speaker that I see here. So we'll go to those public comment on this item.
Well, if you first have the perception you're not going to succeed, try and again. It sounds like this thing won't move forward because of the little information I was able to get trying to research the thing in any way, shape, or form. But some people just don't give up, and they just seem to have their way. And again, they're going over the top of what was taken care of by your planning division. If it does come forward before you, put a lot of weight to what happened. I believe this one happened while I was down in Mexico, but I have had a little bit of ability to track a little bit what's going on. So thank you for your staff for communicating with me on this one. And thank John Ford. He's doing an excellent job on a lot of things he's doing there. So.
All right, thank you. All right, and I'm not seeing any hands up in the public queue either. Okay, Nikki's not either. So at this point, there's no questions. We have no action to take. Well, no, we do need a motion to continue the item to a date uncertain. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion that we continue the item to a date uncertain.
Maybe have a second. Second. I can do it. I mean, yeah, I am allowed to do it if no one else says yes, so I'll second that. So,
I didn't want to second it because I think we should have just voted it down before, whatever.
okay, no, I was just going, we're good. We have a motion and a second, and it may not come back to us anyway, right? So,
We're ready for a roll
I
call?
think so. I
All
think we
right,
are.
Supervisor Bohn?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Supervisor Bass?
Yes.
And Supervisor Madrone?
No.
All righty.
There we go.
So at this point, we'll close the public hearing. And I think, motion passed a 3-1 to bring it back. So it's all right. So at this point, I think we are out of our business items, thankfully. All right, good. Thank you for bearing with us today, and we will see you at the next meeting. Oh, shoot. I'm ready. This today, oh, wait, we'll see. I meant to say in 10 minutes. This has been a day that, it has been a very interesting afternoon and morning. Okay, well, the way it's going.
Everything's all right? Nothing blew off the roof there or something? So anyways, I just have a brief public comment for today. I'm just saying, encourage any of you, if you haven't, go watch 2,000 Mules, the new documentary out by Dinesh D'Souza. And it really goes over a lot of things that some people might have had questions about during the 2020 election. And it brings to light, like what I see is some concerns. We might want to have cameras at all the drop boxes we have out if we're going to do all this vote by mail stuff here locally. That's just what I'd say is go watch 2,000 Mules and maybe look into getting some cameras at our drop boxes for voting, because it seems like it might be a good idea. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ash. Do we have anyone else with their hand up?
No, Chair Bass, we have no other hands up.
All right, well, and if someone comes in after we go to those in person, I'll come back to you and just let me know. How's that? Or if someone calls in on that number. For anyone who's joining us, we've been having some challenges today on this. So the general practice is to fill out the list. Well, I'm telling people for future reference. This is what we used to do, and if you fill out on the list that you wish to speak, we're going down that list first, put it that way, and then we go everybody else in the audience after that. That's all I'm trying to say is if you signed up, you get called first. So, and those of you who wish to speak, it might help make things go a little more quickly as if some of you feel like standing at the side of the room, so we can just come up, run right after the other. It's up to you, but that does help. So our first speaker, who's got 3 minutes, is Lori Birdsong. And then we'll go to those who have not signed on the list. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yep, microphone's on.
Okay. I just would mention in regards to calling in, because I had trouble when I called the Planning Commission, and it said to press *6, but my voice was never heard, and it's confusing because you're on your computer, maybe on the Zoom, but then you're calling on your phone, and one thing says to press *6, and somewhere else it says press *9.
Okay,
So
I tell you what. I'm not taking your time. We'll start you back over at 3 minutes, and then I'll talk after the end of the public comment. I'll make a brief comment on how we can make it generally work. Today's a totally different challenge we're having, but I'll give you some tips on that. So, but I want you to have your 3 minutes to speak on what you came to talk about.
Thank you. So I'm just here to speak to the board regarding the telecommunications towers that are being proposed in our area, because I'm very concerned about them because they are the infrastructure for the 5G and this streamlined process that is being pushed by the feds disallows for public comment or public hearing, and it doesn't allow for the CEQA process. This is not right. And we as citizens have the right to stand up against any policies that are going to cause us injury. I personally am sensitive to electromagnetic frequency. I get ringing in my ears and I get headaches. This 5G stuff is really bad news, and we just need to do due diligence and investigate all about this stuff, because 5G will not only utilize current 3G and 4G wireless frequencies that are already in use, but it'll add on top of that, adding a higher frequency in sub-millimeter and millimeter waves. So the waves are shorter, they go through our bodies, they cause heating on the inside like a microwave. Like we're going to be microwaved, and in order for this 5G to work, they have to put the receptors very close to each other. So these little mini cell towers are going to be all along lampposts and people's houses. It's just unconscionable. And scientists worldwide are calling for a halt to 5G. Over 200 scientists and doctors have issued a declaration calling for a moratorium on the increase of 5G cell antennas, citing human health effects and impacts to wildlife. So not only human impact, but impacts to wildlife, birds, bees, and also it dries the environment, it damages trees, and we have a lot to take care of as far as our trees. Our trees are so important to us in this community, and we all value the trees here. We all value our natural environment. And so I'm kind of a paper person, but and I'll also send the email to this, because there's several links on here you might like to explore. But let me just say in closing that the effect on fetal development is noted as serious. It damages DNA. So that's what I had to say to you all today. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lori. And if you'd like, you can just we'll pass it out to us. All right, thank you. So actually, Charles, we did have one person at the side of the room that was lined up. So unless you want to let Charles go first? Okay. All right. All right, welcome, Uri.
Is this on? I don't think this is on, but.
Yeah, you can't hear it. Our technician, can you hear it? Yes.
Okay.
Access Humboldt's the one that needs some.
That's fine. Uri Driscoll. I know you guys have some tough decisions to make, and you rely on your staff a lot. And I think that there's been an ongoing problem that I've been trying to address through the channels that I have access to, but it's been very difficult because I feel like your staff is not telling you guys and the Planning Commission as well all of the real relevant facts. They're steering your decisions in a way that I think is really problematic. And I want to bring up one example, and this is the Bay Trail South project. Now, they've been claiming, your staff has been claiming that it is the bridge specifically is a cooperative use. Well, that is absolutely false, because the speeders that have been going on that, and THA, I can't speak enough about THA and what they've brought to this community, but they're not going to be able to run their equipment on that. And you guys here, a couple of years ago supported a rail bike program, which I had intended to bring to this community, and that is not going to be available on that bridge as it is designed. But there's a bigger problem, and the design that the county has pushed through has some of that misinformation. And unfortunately, because of the status of the rail line and the abandonment process that it's going through, that the current design is not buildable, and the funding will run out on that June 30th. And unless the Surface Transportation Board makes a determination that grants abandonment, that project is done. The funding will run out. That not only affects the Bay Trail project, but it also is connected directly to the Caltrans Corridor project. And this is information I don't think you guys are really disseminating. I don't blame you. I mean, you guys got a lot on your plate. But this is about $50 million worth of project that could be terminated simply because your staff did not design a project that is buildable in the current status of the rail line, which is an active status. So I'm just bringing this to your attention. I've tried to, bring this to Hank. I've tried to, bring this to the Coastal Commission, but the information that's being provided is not complete, and you guys got a serious problem, not just in that case, but that's one example I wanted to bring to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Uri. And welcome, Charles.
My name is Charles Wilson. I just wanted to comment on the Asian Heritage Month, or whatever they call it there. Long time ago, I lived in West Los Angeles when I was a kid. Okay, now there's no Japanese in West Los Angeles at the time. All my friends, or not all of them, but a lot of them were Nisei. You didn't talk about Japanese in those days. After time, I don't know what it was, but anyway, they all disappeared. Well, you know probably what happened to them. I know my friend Taxibuya, he didn't hold it against the government, even though the government was stupid. But the thing is, he figured he was just another casualty of the war, and they just got stuck up there and all that kind of stuff. Jack Wong had a different idea, but anyway, it affected different people in different time. It's taking them away from their home and putting them away and stigmatize them and everything like that. The Sakamotos had a nice nursery business, and I liked when they left. They had planted a bunch of queen palms. I like queen palms. They're nice trees. But anyway, the thing is, so they were away for about 5 years, but I got to play with the forest of queen palms. They had about a couple of thousand of them planted in there, and then they came back, and fortunately they were able to make use of the queen palms. My wife, my late wife, one of her relatives was Chenault. Now, Chenault's wife, I guess she was Chinese. I never thought of it at the time there. But anyway, they moved, well, I guess when he was an old guy, so he eventually died. And she moved to Louisiana. And Louisiana had all those regulations about you can't have marriage with different people there. And out of respect for him, they didn't do anything to stop her from doing whatever she was going to do there. Anyway, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Welcome, Genevieve.
This is Genevieve Wilson. First of all, I'm telling like Lori talked about the 5G. I think nobody care. Eventually, down the road, we will know what's going to happen to people. Just like the, whatever you call it, vaccine is not a vaccine, it's a biological agent. You know, CDC say 90 days, that 12,000 people die from the vaccine injury. But people told me that I take the vaccine because whatever the jab, because this way my symptom will be lower, I won't have a serious effect. Hey, what about the people who die? And you don't taking your chances. Like I have a song, take a jab, take a jab. It's a Russian roulette. You may be well, you may be dead. I won't take a chance, you bet. Some people say my relative so-and-so get COVID and die. That's one person. What about the other people? They died bad. But my point is, there's 4 vaccines. Harris, the vice president took it. They still get COVID. That doesn't prevent you to get COVID. That is not vaccine. Don't be lied to again. I'm trying so hard to tell people. So we have a mandate. We have a petition to sign. We don't want vaccine passport. You should honor people who have natural immunity. If I got COVID, I got natural immunity, that's God will. God immunity, you need to respect that. I cannot go to any concert right around my corner. You have to have vaccine proof. Come on. And I remind you again, if you recover from any cold, you don't know you get COVID, please don't take the shot. You die on the same night. And children, please, don't, all the young people, 99.8% you recover. So please don't take it. Pregnant woman just had the flu shot. If you don't take the flu shot, you get the flu, you have miscarried. The other way around, 4,400 people have miscarried. Paper talk about it. That to me is ridiculous. That's misinformation. But right now I'm telling people, I'm very comfortable, I have a wonderful life, but I go out there to tell people because I care for people, I love people. And everybody should have an informed consent, I mean both sides. I talk to people like in McKinneyville High School. I told you before, talk to the principal doesn't say, I don't care. Right now the 5G too, some people are more sensitive to it. I'm sensitive to the Wi-Fi, and then I get headache. So people should respect that. Now, down the line, people dying, relative, and you cannot, I had somebody have a wedding. Oh, you're not take the jab, you cannot come. Come on, respect people, and then go sign the paper for the mandate, because anybody, even some people take the vaccine, they say, I don't want mandate. It should be a freedom of choice. This is America. I get kicked out of the casino, passing the pamphlet. And then I talk to people. These guys say, you talk to too many people, they love to talk to me. Then I look at the security guy, I say, listen, this is not China, this is not Russia. You got a freedom to talk. They didn't tell me they don't want to listen to me, they can go away. Don't do that to people. Look at what China right now.
All right. Thank you, Genevieve.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that. I look at the red.
All right, I know.
To make sure I made all the minutes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Ken Sawatsky, I was going to have a trial in the court of public opinion, but Mother Nature canceled that last minute here. Your schedule changes, so does mine. I wish to speak a little bit about the city of Blue Lake politics out in the city of Blue Lake. It's a small little thing out here, and we're having the same problem we have sometimes in the county. We've had it in the Harbor District and things like this. Here's an example. The other day, we had a forum where the people were asked to see a project that the city manager was trying to put forward. It was an interesting project. It was a RV park, which was going to have restaurants, coffee shops, a whole bunch of things that sound desirable. The people were strongly against it because a lot of people out there in this area have spent a lot of time developing little businesses, and they can't afford to go and pay $150 a square foot or compete with Starbucks or something. So we got the message across, I think. I don't know. We'll see where that project goes forward. It was probably 95% of us were against it, and of course, you know me, I sat in the front row and let off, and a lot of people said, well, what Sawatsky said. So tonight we have another interesting meeting. It's a special meeting. I always watch special meetings. And this is the city of Blue Lake. And this Sunday, I think we're supposed to have a public participation regarding a certain project in Blue Lake. And it's an affordable housing project out for Danco in Blue Lake. Well, on tonight's agenda, the city manager has put something on there. The city council is going to go ahead and potentially negotiate the lease and grant the contract to Danco that we're supposed to have input on come Sunday. That's not a good look. I wouldn't want to be in that position. And so a lot of people found out about this. I just happened to see it on a special meeting like I do on the agenda. And hopefully a lot of people will turn up because a lot of people are not in favor of that project. And I'm one of them. It doesn't seem to be appropriate. It's not sized right. It's not for the right reasons. A lot of people don't understand where we are rural and we have a lot of small little towns. Some people just like to keep things small and rural. We don't really want to see a whole bunch of people moving in. We don't feel we need all this growth. And one of the biggest things that really offended me at the other meeting was our city manager there. She said, well, we're going to lose $120,000 worth of money off the income from Blue Lake Power, Ultra Power, whatever. And that means you're not going to have police service. Well, it wasn't, hey, we're going to cut the budget by 2% all across the board, but to bully and threaten us people doesn't go well. You don't like being bullied, neither does the public. So we'll see what happens at the meeting tonight. I'm hoping a lot of people will show up and take the time to listen, see what the project is, and do public input and participation. That's what I'm all about. So when the people are precluded from that, that doesn't bode well. That's my opinion. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you. Welcome, Thomas.
Good afternoon. Many things bring me up here today. Trying to have faith in the judicial system in our county. It's wild. The guy that embezzled from me, pled out for one felony, and now he's petitioning the court to get that felony changed into a misdemeanor. California law is just amazing. But last time I was up here, I spoke to you about PG&E issues, my own personal thing, and something that was brought to me by lots of other people out there. I still see the same conditions of approval on every single project since that time, about a month ago I came in here. So it would be really unfortunate to continue approving projects that are basically destined to failure if conditions of approval are just not realistic. I mean, you can't bring in power in a couple of years. It's just not realistic, so it's really, really challenging. I thank you again for that tax reduction. I think that was great for the industry. The county is going through changing times, and we need to do everything we can to help that. There's some people out there right now gathering signatures for initiative that would just basically strangle the county. I've heard one of you up here say that you aren't in favor of it. I'd love to see every single one of you publicly state that you aren't in favor of it. It would be great. I think as we're going out there asking for votes and asking people to turn out for votes, we publicly say, hey, this would be important to not put your name to this. So that's it. I think it would just stranglehold the county if that went through. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience here who wanted to comment that has not yet? All right, we'll go. Is there anyone? Yes, there is.
Yes, Madam
online.
Chair, we do have one caller.
Okay, so we're going to go to speaker with the last four digits of 7610. And hopefully this works. Press *6 to unmute. All right, are you there? 7610. Good thing we're patient today with our systems here. Does it look like this person is unmuted yet?
They're unmuted.
Yeah, and make sure you, hopefully you have your video off, but they are unmuted.
They're unmuted,
So,
and they
which
look like
means
they're trying to talk.
and we are not hearing you. Okay, 7610, we can't hear you, so we're going to give you an alternate number to call in on. Just call right now. And that number is on a county cell phone. We're trying to be resourceful here. You can hear them? Okay, we've got you on a Zoom, so 7610.
And I think a lot of people share my feelings, is that whether we agree or disagree, we all have a deep, deep appreciation for all that's going on here.
Ma'am, can I ask you to start again, because we didn't get to, can you?
But we should not. And when we look at, what's going on in Ukraine or anywhere, I'm sorry that we focus on Ukraine, mostly on Ukraine, because it's going all around the world. But at the same time, so I just want to thank everybody who's ever contributed to this, whether it's our, and also I think we need to recognize that, our democratic processes owe a great deal of gratitude to the Iroquois, because there's fairly reliable research that our Constitution is modeled on the Iroquois Constitution, and people can look that up at Fordham University. And then also just anybody, and the people who here in our government, Humboldt County government, who work hard to keep us going, and and all of our public bodies, so that we can fight with each other, we can disagree, and struggle to find the best solutions for everybody. So I just want to say I don't take it for granted, not 1 second. It's not that it means anything more than anybody else contributed, but I grew up with a father who was volunteered and served at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed, and never talked about it, never glorified it, never referred it all to a service, which I ultimately found out was really pretty astonishing when I found his records. But the bottom line is that's not, whoever comes to this meeting, we share this soil now together, and we all have an opportunity to speak up for what we most believe in. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And there's an eloquence, I think there's a beauty to everybody who speaks, because we get up there and we feel our sense of importance and power when we speak there as inhabitants of this shared community. So I wanted to thank all of you for that, and take care. And I think this worked. I hope it worked. So goodbye.
All right, and thank you. And we got to hear most of the comment. We got a little bit challenged in the beginning there, so thank you for being patient today. There's no other people trying to comment? Okay, I think, yes, Supervisor Madrone. But they can't come up through here. We have to give it to after. All right. So with that, as he's delivering that, I think we can safely say we are adjourned.